Good afternoon, and welcome to Living in the Light on a rather dark day. It's a dark day in our outside, and it's a dark day in my heart. Um, so usually, we get this bubbly, all fun and games thing, but as you know, life is not all about all fun and games. So, today we're going to look at a very important thing called connecting the dots. Because the mess we find ourselves in can only be overcome when we learn to connect the dots. Now, I tried, I'm on a different browser because I thought that might help me get rid of that action needed pop up, but it didn't. It was just popping up in my face. So, if anybody knows how to change the FPS in my computer and can explain it in English, that would be good. There was just a man, I looked at a video, I said, I want to know how to do this. Well, he kind of jumps into the middle of it and he talks as fast as I do, but hey, I know what I'm talking about. I didn't know what he was talking about. So it was really hard for me to understand. So here I am continuing to close the little box, the pop-up that comes up. So if I seem distracted, that's what it would be. So I need to get a little bit grounded for today. I usually don't have to give disclaimers, but I will tell you this time. Look, I'm not up for debate on anything, so please understand that. My goal in doing my messages is to help us come to a place of light, to a place of sanity. We are currently, which I have said before, in a it's called spiritual warfare. There's no guns, there's no, the problem is going on not only in the world among people in our own country, among our own Americans, and in our own minds and hearts. The spiritual warfare is it's about the ongoing battle between light and dark, the forces of light and the forces of dark. But it's really about enlightenment and ignorance. I mean, that's what it really all comes to. So we're trying to come to enlightenment, okay? So the things I want to share, that's why I call it living in the light. So we learn how to look at the enlightened side of the challenges in life. And sometimes they're pretty hard to find. But as always, because I am a creature of habit, I am going to start today with the National Day Calendar. And would you believe it is not a particularly uplifting one for me? It didn't work, but it may work for you. So today is National Play Monopoly Day. Well, it's only 5 o'clock here, so if you get a game going now, you might be finished by 5 a.m. tomorrow. Do not like Monopoly. Do not like it. I find it to be divisive and pitting people against each other and putting people in classes, I was always the one that was buying Baltic Avenue, What was the other one that went with it? Oh, phooey, I forgot. Also note, if you put in comments, I can't see them because of the way my screen shows up and I don't know what to do about it. So you can put your comments in. I will check them out later after I'm done with the video. So Baltic Avenue, the purple ones, those were I got the cheap ones because they were cheap. But it's really funny because I'm so low maintenance, why wouldn't I? But then everyone would get a Park Place and the boardwalk, and they'd be trouncing me every time I went by and taking my money. That is not my kind of game. See, to me, Monopoly is very divisive, and I am very collaborative. I like working together to build something. Um, I don't like Jenga either, speaking of building things, but it's National Play Monopoly Day, so if you got it, you want it, today's your day. It is another one that gets a thumbs down from me, and that is Carbonated Beverage with Caffeine Day. Some people like to get that little extra boost in the afternoon, excuse me, on the combination of a sweetened beverage that has caffeine in it. Really gets you going. I personally, it's not good for my heart. A lot of people, it's not good for their heart, and I suppose having one now and then is no problem. Oh, you may know these as energy drinks, okay? Someone near and dear to me is addicted to them. I mean, addicted to them. There's heart disease in his family, and it is not a good thing for him to be drinking them. And yet, he's got one by his side all the time. So, I am not for it. I think the caffeine is too much. Get a second cup of coffee, or some teas. A Zinger, red Zinger tea, I think has a good boost in it. But just watch how much caffeine. And if you have any heart or blood pressure issues, stay away from too much caffeine. I didn't say you had to stop. I said stay away a little bit. Don't go overboard. So those were two. And the third one, it's a thumbs up because I support them, even though I was not necessarily very nice to them when I was a kid. And that, can you believe it? Blah? Yep. It is National Substitute Teachers or Educators Day. Oh, we were not nice to our substitutes. The one thing that comes to my mind is I was in the culinary department at Goodwin Tech, and we had a teacher. One day, my teacher couldn't come in, and so we had this substitute, and we did all kinds of things to make her crazy. And one of the crazy things was to tell her a wrong schedule, turn the desk around, and when she was in the other room, we shut everything down. So it went from the afternoon cleanup noise to dead silence. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking we did that to our real teacher, not our sub. I had a submate, Mrs. Williams, one time, and it was in music. And she's the one that told me I had more nerve than brain. So I guess you can see how I interacted with her. So let us support the substitute teachers, because they come in, they have to kind of pick things up and fly by the seat of their pants. And, they're only there for a couple days, so thank God they probably don't have to work full time because they'd go nuts. So we're holding them in thought. Well, the meat of the issue today is the Kyle Rittenhouse trial has ended, and he was acquitted of all charges. And that has broken my heart, because if there is no penalty, no consequences for the actions he took, then how will he learn? As a matter of fact, to me, the message that goes out is, hey, he got away with it, I can get away with it. It was, if you were observing the whole thing, it was biased, it was really crazy. And the reason it distresses me is because one of the big problems we have is we don't follow the law. When I say law, I don't mean to give quote marks, I mean law. It is the spiritual principles. There is a common law called the law of cause and effect. So for every cause we send forth, there is an effect. And because of the law of increase, excuse me, it's not an equal, it is an increased cause. Okay, so every time there's an effect, the it goes increased, and then it gets bigger and bigger until and unless we interfere with it. We try to stop it. Sometimes it's good, we don't want to stop it. Sometimes it's not so good, we want to stop it. And to me, ignoring the law, so a lot of people will say there's no real thing as right and wrong, just cause and effect. Well, I beg to differ, because you can say there's no right or wrong, there's just cause and effect, but some lead to very negative. In unity, we call sin useless, unnecessary suffering. And, so how do we fix this, okay? How do we, if we're looking at things, and if you watch my videos, you see me talk about this all the time, the 4 quadrants of consciousness. Upper consciousness is intuitive sensing. It is our spiritual part. Lower consciousness, human thought and human emotion, is the lower. Now, when we are operating from lower consciousness, we see things like tit for tat. We see things like an eye for an eye. But when we are talking about it on a spiritual level, and we know we want to change, we cannot change the effect. In this case, was 2 people killed, 1 injured by a child with an automatic weapon that he procured illegally. Okay, so and there's no accountability for that. It's blowing my mind. But there's been no accountability for a long time. Somewhere over the past 5 or 6 years, we were working our way off track. Don't get me wrong. We were working our way off track for a while, but we really lost it for the past 5 or 6 years. The law is no longer, the rule of law is no longer taken seriously. And you understand, our laws, that like civil law, federal law, those kind of laws, are really, they're based in and it's not wrong. Don't listen to me incorrectly. It's not wrong, but it's the lower consciousness of, crime and punishment or whatever. See, lower consciousness, it's crime and punishment. In higher consciousness, it's cause and effect. It's learning. Okay? It's like trying something, learning. That doesn't work. Do it again. Until we start to work toward learning and accountability and hang on, I gotta think of the word. Recompense. Okay, it's one of the 12. We acknowledge what's wrong. We acknowledge our error. Make amends. Yeah, we have to make amends. So when someone pays for their crime, making amends, okay, that's a real, it's because it's not just to punish, it's to learn. And we got a lot of learning to do. That's what it's all about. I find that in the past 6 years, I am so grateful that I found unity and that I'm a unity minister, and actually anybody that has found the church they believe that addresses their beliefs and supports their beliefs and is actually works in alignment with the law. That there's a primary law, a thread law that goes through all religions, and that basic law is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if you wouldn't want it done to you, don't do it to anyone else. I used to have a big poster, and it had around the edges, it had all the different religions' way of saying it. But it's all basically the same. if you don't, you know, you have to love one another and don't cause no harm. But what we have to do is start to make the connection, connect the dots, educate ourselves from what's down here in human thought and emotion to up here, which is intuitive sensing. And if we're so focused on crime and punishment, you know, nobody learns anything. I've spoken before, and you can find a piece in my book, Rise of the False Gods. You can find a chapter or it's a chapter or just a section on prisons and why our prisons don't work. Basically, you know, there are a lot of times they come down to being warehouses for human beings. And when and there are people that come out, you know, very better for it. Excuse me. So anyway, they used to be called correction facilities because correction would be made. Correction will not be made until we understand the cause. So remember when you were a kid and you would get a dot-to-dot book? Weren't they fun? All you saw was these numbers. You could not make a picture out of it. I recently bought an adult, a grown-up dot-to-dot book for someone, and I can't remember who it was, but that's really hard. The grown-up ones, they're really hard. And, you know, like if it's a real elementary one, you can kind of look at it and figure out what's there. But it is, you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and by the time you're all done, you have drawn a picture. You see what the picture is. Is it an elephant? Is it a bouquet of flowers? You know, and you know only because you connected the dots. So when we're talking about cause and effect, we have to connect the dots from backwards. We have to do it backwards. Now, when you've been on the planet long enough, 76 years for me so far, working on my 77th, you have observed a lot. This is why we have to be very observant. And this is why they go to court and they plead the cases. They try to go back and connect the dots. But if they're connecting the dots only on the lower consciousness, the human thought and emotion level, they're not going to get there. Because the real answers are in spirit. Let's just take this case, for example, where we take a young man who somehow got the idea that he needed to do this. The thought of going somewhere he didn't belong with a gun that he'd purchased, you know, or gotten procured illegally. He was not supposed to be there. He had to cross state lines, but somewhere he got the idea. So where did he get the idea? What made him feel it was his to do? And what inside of him grabbed onto whatever that was presented him that caused him to believe that was a good thing to do. And it did not turn out well. I think we talked about it yesterday. The part of the brain that can really balance cause and effect is not fully developed till 25. And when you think about all the things we do before 25 that we're not really ready to do, get married, have kids, go in the army, you know, and I am all for military as it is necessary. But I always pray that we will always be peacemakers and not warmongers. But so we have to connect the dots, and if the young man was speaking about his thoughts and feelings without looking at the deeper essence, where did they come from? Where did they come from? Today, in my never to be humble opinion, We do not do enough interacting. We are divided in too many ways. And there is a lot of inflammatory misinformation and disinformation, and it goes out to the universe on a regular basis. Now, some of you will probably get real mad at me right here, and it's okay. You can stop watching the video, you can unfriend me, you can block me, you can do whatever you want. But I have to speak my truth. And the truth is that most people do not check into the news that they're reading or listening to or watching on TV. Things need to be verified, like, is that true? You know what they say, if you believe that, I got a bridge I can sell you. Of course, it's probably going to fall down because we got infrastructure problems. Okay, enough of that. So we want to be able to back it up, connect the dots back far enough to the mental, emotional, and then to the psychological and spiritual cause. See, because that's where the real cause is. When you connect all the dots, you know, it gets harder at the end, and then you find the real answer, but the answer is in spirit. As long as we're trying to, someone once said, if you try to make sense out of craziness, you're only going to make yourself crazy. We've got to learn to step far back and look at a much bigger picture. Again, with the dot to dot, if you look it up real close and just keep doing those dots, you won't see that picture manifest when you lean back and you see the whole picture of, aha, now I get it. And that's what we have to get. We have to get to that, now I get it, and understanding truth and finding truth and getting to the causes of the effects that we are experiencing. I know that one of the problems in getting that done is getting our opinions, you know, conflicting opinions, and opinions and facts are not the same. Please get to know this. And I'm going to tell you, and you don't want to hear this, as a lot of people don't want to hear this, but you have to understand, first of all, a lot of people pick on the media. Oh, the media is spreading false stuff. Well, there are highly respected media companies that are not spreading false stuff. A lot of times they speak too soon because they want to be the first one. You know, the first one with the poops. They got to know what's going on, and that's a big mistake, because when you try to say something that you're not, it hasn't been verified yet, that's bad on you. On the other hand, to all the people that watch Fox News, Newsmax, and One America, whatever those three main stations are, they are not news stations. They are not listed as news stations. They are listed as entertainment and opinion. So they may put out some news, but most of it is questionable at best, and a lot of it is flat out manipulative lies. Go ahead. You want to stay balanced and watch Fox News? Go right ahead. But doggone it, you better balance it with something else, because if we don't get to the light, if we don't get enlightened, which means being a truth seeker and finding and living and practicing the principles of truth, we're not going to stop it. Now, one of the things we have to, all the things that are going on, whether it's in the government, the courts, we've got a horrible thing going on here in Connecticut. It's like people go into stores, they grab a bunch of merchandise, they run like heck to the door, they shove the stuff in their cars, and they take off. This is happening at big box stores, Lowe's, Walmart, the Target. Thousands of dollars worth of stuff. People walk in, load up the carts, they boogie, they're gone. Now, what's wrong with that? What causes that? Well, I'll tell you something. If you don't get caught and you're held accountable, somebody else is going to think that's a pretty good idea, because that kind of thing is contagious. How do they come to think that's okay? Here, see? We see that's not a nice thing to do. Every time they steal something, all the products in the store go up in price. because we have to pay for that. We have to, if we want stores that are able to stay open and do business and provide us our needs, we have to support them. I keep thinking and I really do think I do it. Remember, my music teacher said I have more nerve than brains. If I saw that going, I think I will pull my car right up in front of theirs so they couldn't go anywhere. If someone was smart enough to pull in behind them, that'd be good. That's called teamwork. It's working together. I know this is a little off base for me. It's not the way I usually present my truth, and I hope that I'm saying anything clear enough that you will kind of get to understand. I hope I've been able to stick close enough to principle. What's happening for us is a wake-up call. You have to know life is not a spectator sport, nor is politics. We are a government of, by, and for the people. We are supposed to work together for the good of the whole. And it's the same thing with our body, our heart, our liver, our kidneys, our intestines, everything, our nose, everything has a purpose. Why? To support the whole. So if something is happening that is not supporting the whole, we've got to fix it. Yes, people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And that's where we have to make the correction. We have to, I'm going back to the Catholic Church, to the act of contrition. Yeah, you say at the end of it oh God, I got to do the whole thing. Oh my God, I'm heartily sorry that I offended thee. I freely resolve in the help of God to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. So when we make a mistake, this is metaphysics. This is not religion. It's metaphysics. We can't fix what we don't acknowledge, okay? We have to acknowledge it, and then we have to fix it, and then we have to not do it again. Usually we're the ones at the end of harming ourselves. But in the case of world governance, climate change, all this stuff, you can't be a spectator sport. You've got to practice the principles that will make us all stronger and healthier. Everything is about energy. And so we want to make sure that we keep our vibration, our energy level high, and that we learn to, it's funny, we keep our energy level high while we stay grounded. All right, I am basically out of time. I have 2 minutes, and I think I've been on such a rant because of the way I feel. And so I'm not taking this young man and declaring him inherently evil. What I'm declaring off or evil, you know what the word evil spelled backwards is? Live. So this isn't something about demonic anything. It's about lower consciousness, living backward, okay? And so we want to turn that around and live in the light. 2 of the things that really keep me going at this time is knowing a unity affirmation. There's one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives. God, the good, omnipotent. I have to remember that the Bible tells us, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The more we align with spiritual principle, the more good things will happen. I urge you not to let yourself be disappointed, have your disappointment lead to discouragement. This is a time when all of us need to have courage to stand up for all that is good and true, to speak our truth with love. I don't want to see this young man harmed. I would like to see him held accountable and to learn. I feel that way because I'll tell you something. There were times and a lot I've had to learn and a lot I have yet to learn. I don't want to be condemned for it, but I would like to be understood and accepted. But folks, we cannot let ignorance cause the pain and suffering in our world that it currently is. We need to lighten up. The other thing that I hold on to at these times, if I'm feeling like I might be discouraged, is not, no, for this I was born, for this I have come into the world. I came here to share my lighten up, to teach my unity principles, metaphysics, and to practice the principles as I show them to others. So yeah, I'm pretty slammed down right this minute, but I am reminding myself of my affirmations. I am remembering that all things work together for good, and good will come. And it will come faster if and when we all work together. Remember, you are not alone. I am not alone. Together, we can change the world. I call it being change makers. MACR, for mutual accountability and collective responsibility. Sometimes we have to stop leaving our butt prints in the sand and stand up for truth. Okay, forgive me if I have offended you. It was not my intention. My intention was to actually instill hope, knowing that there is truth and it will set us free. God bless you. I hope I see you again.